Hello everyone, so I finally got my chance to watch Mulan that released on Disney Plus earlier this weekend. This movie was supposed to release a little earlier in later March of this year, but due to the global pandemic, it kept getting pushed back to release date, where Disney Plus finally made the decision to release it on Disney Plus with just an additional fee on top of it. This movie does follow the same story, or the same basic premise as the original animated film, where Mulan decides to take her father's place in war against northern invaders because he is old and frail and will most likely not return home from battle. So she takes his place secretly and disguises herself as a man in order to go to war, and she has to hide this and herself and her true passion most of the time while she's fighting. Unfortunately, she would be executed for doing what she is doing now if she did it as a woman, so that's why she has to disguise herself as a man. So it does follow the basic premise, but without further ado, let us talk about this new adaptation into a live-action version of Mulan. So this adaptation does take away more of the otherworldly beings that were in the animated film, such as the spirits of Mulan's ancestors. No crickets, no Mushu this time around, and there's also no Li Shang this time around. There is a soldier character whose name is Cricket, and there's also another character who goes through a lot of the same things that Li did in the original animated film, but he's not the commander of this military base. He's another soldier. There is no romantic arc between him and Mulan this time around either. It's just he goes through a few of the same things, so you can tell that they just put some of that into this character for a sense of familiarity throughout the film. A lot of the side characters do not get any fleshing out in this film. They don't get a lot of screen time. This is really just Mulan's movie throughout the entire film. There is also no singing or no musical numbers involved in this film. You do get some tidbits and versions of the songs that are just non-lyrical playing in the background during a lot of the scenes. But yeah, like I said, there's no lyrics. Even with that too, it's not enough to feel nostalgic about the movie. Same thing with the scenes not involving Li Shen, just with his new characters. You can tell they're trying to hit that sense of familiarity within you, but it just never did for me personally when I was watching this film. There's just a lot of pivotal scenes in this movie too that they either remove things or just didn't have that same magic for me. And I think the biggest one that I could think of would be in the original animated film when Mulan decides to go to war and make this choice that's going to save her father but potentially lose her own life, bring dishonor to her family, potentially get herself killed and maybe even her family killed because of what she did when she takes her father's armor and rides off to war. You don't get that same, there's just so much weight when she's putting on the armor in the original animated film, but in this one, she just puts on the armor. Well, you don't even get to see her put on the armor. The armor's just on all of a sudden in one little take, and next thing you know, she's riding off to war. It just didn't really feel like the choice had any weight. It was just a choice in that sense. And it did, like I said, it just felt empty. And a lot of scenes in this movie that tried to take away from the animated film felt this way for me. Kind of from this, I felt like a lot of Mulan's journey was just kind of fast forwarded. We didn't get to see all the kind of these pivotal scenes or just character moments where she was reflecting on what she was doing. It's the same thing too in the fight scenes in this movie, where a lot of it just feels really heavily edited and things were missing from the movie, so it just feels like it's jumping really, really fast. And two, when it comes to how the fight scenes in this film were filmed, it's you can tell they took inspiration from movies like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, also Hero, but it just it's not as flawless and just as smooth as those movies were because of how heavily edited it was, where there's just a lot of cuts in the scenes, and it's just a way that I do not like action film that doesn't feel, like I said, they try and make it really fancy, smooth, but it just kind of came off as frantic because of all the editing that they had to do with the fight scenes in this film. A lot of it too is it felt like they were going for a more realistic take, the timepiece and the setting, but with fight scenes like this and just how they were edited, even too, it almost kind of gave Mulan superhuman abilities. They're not meant to be superhuman abilities, but it just came across as a way that just didn't really feel grounded or real to me. It didn't make sense in our world, kind of like how in Hero, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, it was filmed in a way that just made me feel like this is the world that we're supposed to be living in, and I'm supposed to be watching. Stuff like this is normal, but it only happens to certain characters, and when it does, it just doesn't feel organic. Like I said, it just didn't make sense in the world that this movie was creating. Just unlike how Hero and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon did their action. What I mean when I say this is that it gives the characters chi, and chi in this universe is almost like superhuman abilities. Almost think of it as like a Captain America vial, but it's something that's just within certain characters or certain chosen people. I didn't like it because it made the characters a lot less relatable, real, and even empathetic in certain ways. It's just that the message that the film goes for this time around is not to hide who you are and your true self, because that kind of blocks away all the power that you have within you, and who you are drives what you can do in the world. And so like it tries to make everyone feel like they could be like Mulan if they let themselves shine and not held back in any single way. But unfortunately, it did it in a way where she was born with chi, and there's a lot of other people who were not born with chi in this universe. So it just kind of makes it feel like you can only be like her if you're chosen as well. And like I said, that just takes away from a lot of the relatability of the characters, and it kind of alienated me from being able to relate to Mulan. And also too, I could just tell it really alienated a lot of the side characters. Like I said, they weren't flushed out enough for me to admire them in too many ways. And same thing too, it's just in the original animated series or animated film, a lot of these characters were still able to do amazing things, but you don't see that in this time around, either because it was edited out or they just weren't the chosen one. And like I said, this was Mulan's journey, and it just felt like a lot of these characters were wasted because they weren't chosen. They didn't have the chi. There's a new character that they add on the enemy side who kind of exemplifies this for me. She could have had a way more effective storyline, I think, if she was almost like an anti-version of Mulan, where she could have been, like I said, chosen, but they went down this road with her where she was trying to be like Mulan. So in that way, she never felt like herself, and she never even tried to be herself by the end of the movie. I felt like if she would have stuck true to an agenda and who she was, kind of being like on the opposite side of the spectrum as Mulan, she could have been a lot more effective as a character. And I just think they could have added a lot more weights to her and the enemy side this time around. It's just kind of like a black and white, good versus bad, and she was always just trying to be, she wanted to be like Mulan, but in that way she lost her own identity. And I just, like I said, she gets lost in translation because she didn't get the flushing out that I think she really deserved. I do prefer kind of like the work hard, train hard to be great storyline that the first movie went with. I just thought that was more effective for the timeline, the characters, the story, where, like I said, this time around it just kind of alienates the side characters and the audience from Mulan because we're not chosen like she was. There are a few really decent performances in this movie from Jet Li and Donnie Yen, but a lot of the time, like I said, there wasn't enough line delivery, or there just wasn't enough screen time for these characters to really shine, or I should say the actors to really shine and bring a lot of life to their characters. I do much prefer the original film, and I know that I will never return to this live action adaptation, or at least not by choice. I'd always much rather watch the animated version of Mulan, and that's what I'm going to stick to. And with all these things taken together, that's why I'm going to give Disney's live adaptation of Mulan a 5 out of 10. So in the comments, please let me know what you guys thought about Mulan, if you've had the chance to watch it, and just what live action adaptation of any Disney movie you're most excited to see next. And as always, you can like this video, you can subscribe, and check down on all my other movie reviews down below, and also turn on the little ringer if you want to know when I upload new videos. But yeah, if you get the chance to, check out Mulan and let me know what you guys think about it. But awesome, guys. Can't wait to review more movies down the line.